Okay guys, welcome to this farming guide. You may notice I've switched back to low detail, and that's due to the fact that I keep disconnecting, so I decided to just go back to low detail. It's not as much difference. Basically, this guide is going to show you how to do a herb run in more detail than I did in my little money making guide. Basically, it's due to a couple of requests. Basically, a couple of people wanted to know how to do them properly, and I thought might as well show them. If you haven't got the requirements for a certain patch, such as the My Arms Big Adventure patch, which is the disease-free one, if you haven't done that quest, then just ignore that bit of the guide and do the rest of the run. And if you haven't done the Spirit Tree quest, I can't remember which one it is, it's one of the gnome ones. But if you can't use the Spirit Trees, then ignore the 2 Spirit Tree patches and do the rest and that sort of stuff. And it's sort of like I'm showing you everything you can possibly do. And if you don't have a requirement, I'll try and mention alternatives as we go along. And if there's no alternatives, then, just leave it. It's fine. It doesn't make you any worse off, really. It just means you're not making as much as you possibly could if you could do the quest. But yeah, anyway. Start here at the top corner of the GE. If you aren't anywhere near the GE, say you're logged out at Castle Wars, use a Ring of Dueling to teleport to mobilising armies, and there's a Spirit Tree right there. And you can go straight ahead and start the farm run from that Spirit Tree. You don't actually have to be at the Grand Exchange, but you need to be by a Spirit Tree to start the run. I'm going to start off by explaining why I have this familiar. As you know, I plant papayas, and I plant in all 4 patches now because I discovered that you can Spirit Tree to the other 2. And basically the giant ant, what it does is gives you double fruit occasionally. So say you've got 6 fruit on a tree when it's fully grown and when the fruit's fully regenerated and stuff. But you can possibly get between, a maximum of 12. But so I usually get between 8 and 12 fruit per tree instead of the standard 6 using this familiar. And since each papaya is about 2.1k, that's worth it. And the pouch itself, I believe, is 2.1k, almost exactly. Yeah, see? So if you get 1 extra papaya on the entire farm run, then you've at least broken even and got some free summoning XP and a cool familiar for free. So what we're going to do is teleport to the, I think it's the Tree Gnome Maze or something, I don't know what it's called, the big maze. And then we're going to teleport again and go to the Tree Gnome Stronghold first. It's important you go to the Tree Gnome Stronghold first and not the battlefield of Khazad, because as you can see, the patch is right next to the tree here, whereas as you'll see later in the video, the Khazad place is actually a little bit of a walk away from the Spirit Tree. So it's much easier to come here because you can go back to the Spirit Tree and go to Khazad almost instantly, whereas if you went the other way around it'd take time. Okay, so we've got some papayas. See, 9 instead of 6. Noted them using the leprechaun. And we're going to teleport again on this tree. And then we're going to go to the battlefield of Khazad this time. As I said, if you haven't done these quests, don't bother doing these 2 patches. You only need the Spirit Tree teleport, I think. I don't think there's any other requirements for those patches. And yeah, obviously you need the farming level for papayas. I don't think there's any other trees that are good for profit. I'm not too sure. But it's worthwhile planting fruit trees anyway and getting a bit of extra fruit and stuff if you need be. I think if you can't grow papaya trees, it's probably a good idea to train your farming off of them, because curry tree seeds are dirt cheap and apple tree seeds and stuff, and yet they give tons of XP. But once you get to papayas, it's 40k a seed, so you want to kind of just leave the tree there. If this is your first farm run ever and you don't know how to plant a tree, you basically get a plant pot and a gardening trowel, which can be in your tool belt. Use the seed on the pot and then water it, and then it eventually turns into a sapling, and then you just plant it like any other seed. It's fine. Okay, so now I usually teleport to my house in Brimhaven. If your house isn't in Brimhaven, you can use the Love Story altered teleport tabs to teleport here. Or you can teleport to Ardongu, however you say it, and take a boat down from there and do that. or you can charter, I think, from any boat place. So there's many ways of getting here, but the fastest is to have your house here and tele to it, or use a love story teleport tab, which again is another quest requirement. Then you teleport to Camelot. I always say Catherby. It's Camelot. And when you're at Camelot, if you can't teleport to Camelot, you can buy a tab, I believe. So there's no excuse for magic levels. And while we're walking, I'll quickly mention these secateurs. You need to do Fairy Tale Part 1, really easy quest, and they increase your looting from patches like these, so it's well worth having them. Falador Shield, it's worth having it because it gives you bonus XP at one patch, and that's the Cabbage Port patch. It's a little bit of XP, but it's bonus XP nonetheless. Okay, so I've picked my herbs here, and then we're going to plant super compost. You have to super compost herbs, otherwise they die. And then just do that. There you go. Clean them and then use them on the leprechaun. Done. You can note them when they're dirty if you don't want to clean them for whatever reason. And then we go to the fruit tree patch down here. Okay, so what herbs to plant in your herb patch then? Well, it's up to you. Do market research, because the prices change all the time, especially with all these bots going and coming back and all of that. I find qualms are best because they're low risk if they die, and they're quite high profit. I mean, one qualm is worth about 6 seeds or something like that. And I'll tell you what, we'll work it out. Might not be 6 actually, it might be 4. But lag. Oh yeah, you can't do it until right. Nope, you're not going to put up a seed. There we go. So yeah, you see, it's roughly 4 seeds for 1 qualm. So it's basically 1 qualm when your minimum's 5 anyway, and you've broken even. So it's a pretty good herb. A lot of people do toad flax for a similar reason. It's high profit for small input. Snapdragons are high risk, but again, they do give you a lot of profit. And I believe toadstools are quite good as well, but again, they're incredibly high risk. If one of those dies, you're pretty screwed. The best way to calculate what herbs to use would be to assume one of your patches is going to die. So say you want to plant snapdragons, pretend that you know what's going to happen, and you know that exactly one of your patches is going to die, and then work out your profit from that. Because most of the time, all of them will survive. I very rarely get them die at my farming level, and I'm not very high. I'm, what, 67? I'm not even sure if level affects it, to be honest. Okay, so now I'm going to note these herbs again. I forgot to say that we're cabbage porting. If you don't have the cabbage ring, use Amulet of Glory and walk up, or walk from the Lummy Telly or something. There's lots of alternatives. Okay, so now we're going to go to the Canifis patch with the Ectophile. If you can't use that, use the Caril teleport in your player house. If you can't do that, then it's quite difficult to get here, and I suggest you just miss it out and do the quest at your nearest opportunity. I suppose you could charter to the port and leave that way. That could work. If you charter to port, I think it's Port Phasmis or something, then you can walk out and go and plant that way, I guess. But where were we? Yeah, assume one of your patches is going to die, and that way, if you say you're planting toadstools, you make a 200k loss on seeds every trip, and then you account for that. So basically, it means that you will average out at 1 death per trip. So it'll work out your average profit rather than assuming that they're all going to live, because sometimes they do die. I've had it where they've all died before, as I think I said in my money guide, so you know, you've got to be careful. Okay, so that's the Canifis patch. It's very simple really once you get used to it. You just super compost and seed, and that's that done. Okay, next one. I use the Ardinghew farm on the Ardinghew cloak. This teleports you straight to the patch. If you don't have the Ardinghew cloak too, it's really easy to get. So I suggest you do it. It's like a couple of easy quests and a few medium stats. It's not particularly difficult at all. If you can't, just teleport to Ardee and walk up. it's not actually that long a walk, surprisingly, but it just saves time having this cloak. And that's this patch done, basically. There you go, done. I'm just going to harvest these watermelons because I forgot to last time. You can plant these if you want to get extra XP, but they're not very good profit, to be honest, so I never really bother. Okay, you can dismiss the giant ant if you really want to as soon as you picked all your papaya trees, but I just like keeping him. He looks quite odd, you know, good to keep. And as you can see, the magic secateurs are working their magic, boosting my allotment output. It's a ridiculous amount of watermelons for one patch. Oh my god. Right, okay. Use that on him. That's 18 from one patch, that's not bad. Okay, now we teleport to Trollheim. You can't teleport to Trollheim. This is a difficult patch to get to, but I believe, I'm not 100%, that the quest requirement for this patch is My Arm's Big Adventure, and I think that you have to do the quest for the teleport to be able to get here anyway, so there's not really a lot of worry. I think there's a faster way of getting to this patch, but I don't know what it is. So if I knew, I would do it myself, but this is the fastest way I know to get to this patch at this current moment in time. If you guys have any ideas or improvements upon my farming guide, you shouldn't do, because I've been researching and doing the fastest methods I can and stuff. But if you know any other ideas of how to get your herbs and your papayas faster, then please post a comment, because it's not just me helping out, it's everyone who watches this video who's interested in doing a herb run. And so yeah, basically it's very simple. Walk around, collect all your herbs. I hope having it on video is showing you exactly what I do has helped, and I hope me jabbering on about this and that has helped as well, because a lot of people were requesting a more in-depth guide than what was on my money guide, and so I've shown you a full uncut farm run, and hopefully this is what you wanted. So I planted snapdragons here last time because I got it from a Slayer drop, so I thought I might as well just plant it, and that's a pretty good loot, to be honest. And I'm just going to plant quam now because I've run out of snapdragons. Run out of snapdragons. So the total cost for this trip was 5 buckets of super compost, which is roughly 5k. 4 quam seeds, which is another 2k, so that's 7k, plus a snapdragon seeds, so that's 30k. Papaya seeds pay for themselves over time. I've done so many farming runs now that they've paid for themselves over time. So I think 4 seeds is 160k. So I've earned that well over that from papayas. So we can assume that the papaya tree is just pure profit now. We won't count the watermelons. So for a total cost of around about 37k this trip. I've made pretty good profit. And you can see how long this run took from the time in the video. And if you do this a couple of times a day, it's a nice break from doing Slayer or skilling or whatever you do. It's a good way of distracting yourself from, you know, repetitive things. And I need to do a Slayer task in Canifis, so I'm going to go bank there. Yeah, and it just means that you get a break from it all, and, you know, it's easy money. I mean, that's not even difficult money I just made. And you can make more than that. As I said, I've had 14 herbs from one patch. So if you got 14 herbs from a Snapdragon patch, you'd be pretty sorted. Even more so on a Torstal patch. Qualms, I usually get about 30 a run. But this run was sort of a bit meh. It's got a few good loots, but not every single one. A couple of them were like the minimum 5. That's fine. Papayas, I usually get around about 37ish, so that's around about right. I usually say 10 per tree is really good going, so 40 papayas, you've done a really good run. And that's basically it. That's all there is to it. If you want to train farming for XP, don't use this method. This is for money. For XP, farming costs a lot because you use the best seeds and the best plants you can plant. And when you start getting into the 60s, that involves yew trees, papaya trees, watermelons at your allotments, and the best herbs, which are usually quite expensive. And you'll basically just lose tons of money. You'll get a lot of XP, but you'll lose tons of money. So this is a money making method for farming. Basically, you do get an awful lot of XP, to be honest, considering you get the amount of money you do. I probably made well over 12 mil now. I'll tell you what, I've kept all of my herbs. So there you go. That many. I only farmed a few Avantos when I started, and Qualms and Snapdragons. I'll deposit about 20 of them from Slayer drops, and the same about them, and 10 of them from random events. So this is purely from farming. There you go. 9 mil-ish from doing farming occasionally in between tasks and stuff. I don't do it religiously. And you can do a farm run if you want to maximise the papayas, I would say every 5 hours or so. I don't really know exactly how long the papayas take to get back, but 5 hours or so seems to work. If all you care about is the herbs, and you do get some papayas, it's like 2 papayas, it's every hour and a half you do a run. And it's a really good way of making money. Recommend it, and I hope this guide's helped you. I hope it's in depth enough. If you have any questions, leave a comment. If you have any improvements, definitely leave a comment. Don't you dare click off this video without leaving a comment if you've got an improvement. And I'll see you guys in my next video. A quick mention at the end of this. I know this is my 50th video and I was doing a 50th video party. Don't worry about that. Haven't forgotten. I'll be putting up a video shortly about that. Okay guys, thanks.